Hey everyone, it's Naomi Wolf calling. It's Naomi Wolf. I'm here with DailyClout, and I'm here in London. I'm here for the book tour of my book, Outrages, Sex, Censorship, and the Criminalization of Love, which has been covered in The Observer, The Irish Times, a number of other publications. So I hope if you're watching from London, you'll join me and Erica Wagner tomorrow night at the London Review Bookstore. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to see you joining in. And if you're not in London, I'll be updating you by Twitter and Facebook throughout the week. And, the book is also available in the United States and in Canada. So please go ahead and order it if you're interested in finding out how homosexuality was criminalized in the modern way that we inherit, and also how the state invented censorship. These are issues that are definitely with us to this day. And that brings me right into what's going on this week in Congress. In this update, we're going to be talking about something really weird that happened in the congressional database, which I'll get to this week. And we're also going to be talking about Alabama's heartbeat bill, which also passed. And finally, I'm going to be giving you a 5G update. And the reason we're doing this whole range is that you, DailyClout members, community, have asked for us to prioritize those issues. So please, if you're not yet a member of DailyClout, and I see some of our members joining in, thank you, go to the website and become a member or make a donation, because literally we just got halfway to our fixed operating costs through donations and memberships. We need to get all the way, and then we need to start paying our researchers and photographers and graphic designers and journalists. So please, 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 if you believe in this mission of reporting on the actual bills and actually reading them, which I will tell you is very different from what a lot of most news outlets do, which is go with the press release or go with the public statement, then please support us. And also, if you believe in totally objective reporting on real dangers that are unfolding, like 5G, which major media are failing to report on adequately, by all means, become members, make donations. Let us keep bringing you these facts. All right. So this week in Congress, well, as you all know, the Equality Act passed the House. It's going to a vote on Friday. And it's, really an exciting bill for those of you who support equality of LGBTQ people under law. I hope that's most of you, if not all of you. And it basically adds the words sexual orientation and other ways to identify LGBTQ people to a lot of aspects of equality law that are just right now the word sex. So we'll go into more detail on that if that is passed by the Senate. Now, the thing I wanted to call your attention to, though, is that when I looked at what happened this week in Congress, and that's the week that just ended, the week that ended on the 17th, something really disturbing jumped out. And again, this is not a partisan observation. And what's disturbing is that there can't be firsthand reporting on the text of 6 bills, because there was something wrong with the website of Congress.gov. And so the text of the bills did not appear, it didn't upload. So you may be thinking, well, that happens, it's technology, just, unplug and plug it back in, or, whatever you're supposed to do to update the congressional database. But it's really a cause for concern. I run a website, of course, DailyClout, which gets its data from Congress.gov and from state legislative databases. And if the actual text of the bill can't upload for some reason, and sometimes there are glitches, you can upload a PDF. There's no reason on earth not to show the American people the text of the bills that have passed by Congress. And ever since we've been running DailyClout, which is a couple of years now, with me as CEO, I've been kind of braced for when the powers that be would notice how powerful it is for people to actually read the text of the bills. Well, I don't know if it's just a gigantic technical F-up that has lasted and lasted for days now, because it's now Sunday, and Friday was the last day that This Week in Congress said we can't report on the bills. They're not here. You can't see the texts. But there's really no justification for it. I hope and pray it's just an incredibly bad technical error. Living in the world of digital data, if your developer can't fix it within an hour or two, you really need a different developer. But it's bizarre that six bills passed that you can't see. And what's also bizarre and notable and bears more investigation is that 4 of these are DHS bills and 2 of them are financial, and you cannot see the texts. So the website is having trouble, is what This Week in Congress says. So the bills are HR 1437, which is a DHS bill involving firearms. I know Aileen from Flint, Michigan says, wow, I agree with you. This is very newsworthy. HR 1912 is the DHS Accounting and Documentation Integrity Act. Well, that's pretty relevant because that has to do with how much money DHS has, and also perhaps with what's happening to our data. Okay, very important. HR 1892, Quadrennial DHS Review Technical Corrections Act. So again, having to do with digital data that DHS accumulates, as well as DHS's own performance, right, subject to congressional oversight. Two bills having to do with scrutinizing DHS's performance and accounting are gone. No one can see them, all right, as of now. And HR 2066, the DHS Intelligence Rotational Assignment Act. I don't know from the title what that is, but I assume it has to do with the allocation of personnel. But it's not like, oh, we can't show the American people these bills. Let's just press pause till the American people can see the bills, lobby us in Congress, let us know what they want us to do. No, the American people couldn't see the bills, and all of these DHS bills were agreed to with a voice vote. I'm going to say that again. You couldn't see the bills. Your representative agreed to bills that you could not see with a voice vote. This is, I don't know what you call it. Maybe it's not a full-fledged coup, but it is not a congressional democracy at this point. If there are laws being passed, bills being passed, especially like for anything, but especially for the Department of Homeland Security, that you cannot see. So it's very serious. And I really want you, not a partisan request, to pick up the phone and call your representative and say, do not ever vote on a bill that I cannot see. Do not ever pass a bill I can't see. Press pause. They can do that. Just, push it back to another week. Do not vote on it until the American people can see it. This is an extremely bad precedent, and I don't need to spell it out for you why it's bad and why it's so serious. A couple of other bills whose text you can't see, but they passed them. All right, and I feel like I'm kind of yelling in the wilderness because DailyClout is a small but formidable adversary of falsehood and opacity. But, we're not Time Magazine and we're not CNN. This has to be covered. All right. There's HR 2578, which is National Flood Insurance Program Extension Act. Well, that's really important because, as some of you may know, it's through adding flood insurance, Chase has been fined for this, to people's mortgages, that the banking industry, the mortgage industry, has made millions and millions and millions of dollars in illegal padding of your monthly mortgage. So we can't see that. It got got repassed, but we can't see it. Is it a handout to banks? We don't know. Does it actually protect you, the consumer, with your mortgage? We don't know. We can't see it. But it was agreed to by a voice vote, right? And HR 1060, the BUILD Act, and again, banking, financial services, agreed to by a voice vote. But I can't even tell you about it, which is literally the definition of not a democracy. A journalist cannot tell you what the BUILD Act is that did something to the banks because I can't read it. But it was passed by your representatives. And finally, a third, Banking Act. So only DHS and banking has the invisible bills this week. HR 1037, the Banking Transparency for Sanctioned Persons Act of 2019. Text not available, but agreed to by a voice vote by the United States Congress, your representatives. They didn't care that we could not see the bill. So 4 DHS bills, 3 banking bills zipped through without, totally illegally, without you being able to see, to comment to your representative, to advise your representative. Shocking. Now, moving ahead, because I'm trying to be super fast, we have a lot to cover. As you know, the Georgia heartbeat bill was passed. We read the bill on DailyClout last week. And there's a mobilization of Hollywood stars and producers, Lady Gaga, Rihanna, Reese Witherspoon, other Jordan Peele, other commentators and notables speaking out. And this is meaningful in Georgia because Georgia has a 20% discount for tax discount for Hollywood companies that are filming in Georgia. So this boycott is meant to hit Georgia economically. And it's not just Georgia that passed a heartbeat bill. Many other states, actually 4 other states, Kentucky, Mississippi, and Ohio, as well as Alabama, also passed quote unquote heartbeat bills that move the time when you need to have an abortion if you're going to 6 weeks. So we're going to zip through the abortion bill very quickly. The legislature of Alabama said that abortion advocates speak to women's rights, but they ignore the unborn child. They say recent medical advances prove a baby's heart starts to beat at around 6 weeks. Ultrasound imaging shows the developing child in utero. Listen to that language. As early as 6 weeks after fertilization, fetal photography shows the clear development of a human being. So that's definitely an arguable statement, but it is now in the law. It's estimated, and as a Jew, I'm shocked by this part of the bill. It's estimated that 6 million Jewish people were murdered in German concentration camps during World War II. 3 million people were executed by Stalin's regime. 2.5 million in the Great Leap Forward in China. The Khmer Rouge are mentioned. The Rwandan genocide is mentioned. All of these are widely acknowledged to have been crimes against humanity. By comparison, more than 50 million babies have been aborted in the United States since the Roe decision in 1973, more than 3 times the number who were killed in German death camps. So Chinese purges, Stalin's gulags, Cambodian killing fields, and the Rwandan genocide combined. I don't know about you, but as a Jew, as the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors, many Americans might take issue with the equating of a 6-week-old fetus or 4-week-old or 5-week-old fetus with the Holocaust dead or the Cambodian dead or the Rwandan dead. It's a giant leap, but this bill puts it right out there. Abortion, so the use of any prescription of any instrument, medicine, drug, or any other substance or device with the intent to terminate the pregnancy of a woman. You're allowed to have an abortion if you have an ectopic pregnancy. You're allowed with a lethal anomaly in which an unborn child would die after birth or shortly thereafter be stillborn. You're allowed to have an abortion in a medical emergency, but it has to be a serious health risk. It can't just be a substantial health risk. And then they define serious health risk to the unborn child's mother, not the fetus's mother. In reasonable medical judgment, the child's mother has a condition that so complicates her medical condition that it necessitates the termination of her pregnancy to avert her death or substantial physical impairment of a major bodily function. So again, this literally is the same language we read with the Georgia bill. Same people are writing these bills. And I really want every woman in America to know, and I'm trying to be super even-handed, this means that in Georgia, in Kentucky, in Alabama, in Mississippi, in Ohio, if you're pregnant, it doesn't matter if going through with the pregnancy will cause you severe damage, substantial damage. It has to be the physical impairment of a major bodily function. So if you lose your lower extremities, right? Like I have spina bifida, some people who have spinal diseases, are really endangered by pregnancy. If you're going to lose your limbs, it may not qualify as you're having a right to have an abortion. And they say clearly, this term does not include a condition based on a claim that the woman is suffering from an emotional condition or a mental illness, which will cause her to engage in conduct that intends to result in her death or the death of her unborn child. So really listen to that. It's saying if she's bipolar, if she's an addict, if she's schizophrenic, if she is suicidal, if she's so depressed, if she's catatonic, right? If she's so depressed that going through with this pregnancy will lead her to kill herself, you cannot argue for her to have an abortion. However, the condition may exist if a second physician who's licensed as a psychiatrist with 3 years minimum of clinical experience examines the woman and documents the woman has a diagnosed serious mental illness, and that she might kill herself or kill her unborn child. So once again, we're back to 1964, 1963, when women had to say to male-dominated psychiatrists, I am crazy and I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to kill my baby if you don't let me have an abortion. They identify unborn child as a human being at any stage of development. And they also say an abortion shall be permitted if attending physician says that it's necessary to prevent a serious health risk, and that the physician's determination has to be confirmed in writing by a second physician in Alabama. So again, you can't have your doctor say this will cause my patient with spina bifida or multiple sclerosis to get much worse. You need to have a second doctor agree with your doctor, and it doesn't matter if you think, based on your doctor's advice, that your condition is going to be much worse if you carry a baby to term. It says no woman is going to be criminally or civilly liable. Now, this is important. There's a reason we read the bill. The left has been kind of lying about what's in the bill. They've been saying women who miscarry will be in prison for 30 years or for life. It's not true. And it wasn't true of the Georgia bill either. These bills are rather cleverly or cynically crafted, depending on your perspective, to not criminalize women because there would be too much of a backlash, but to make it virtually impossible for a woman to get an abortion, and certainly to criminalize doctors who care for women who want abortions. So here you see that an attempted abortion performed in violation of this act, is a Class C felony. So that doctor is going straight to prison. And a medical emergency is exempted. And it says it changes all existing statutes. And then this bill would have as its purpose or effect the requirement of new or increased expenditure of local funds. So they're saying you don't have to allow for this cost in the budget. We're just going to carve out the money to pay for it. And then it says this act becomes effective 6 months following its passage and approval by the governor. So that is the Alabama bill, very much like the Georgia bill. And again, to sum up, maybe you are in favor of these bills, maybe you aren't. If you're pro-life, I'd love to hear what our friends at Feminists for Life say about this bill. You think, thank God, we're saving a lot of unborn babies. And if you are a woman who wants to make decisions with your doctor has become a criminal in uh, Georgia, in Alabama, or will within 6 months, unless this is overturned on appeal, for even advising you and helping you get an abortion, even if you've got a serious medical condition, even if you're so depressed that you're going to kill yourself, or, God forbid, harm your unborn baby. So that is the Alabama heartbeat bill. It's 20 minutes. We've got a few minutes more, and very briefly, many of you have asked me to update you about 5G, and this is our third subject for this broadcast. 5G, for those who have not been following along, is a rolled out new place on the bandwidth of electromagnetic radiation that the telecoms are introducing, establishing across America. So I've reported on this, even though there's almost no objective reporting in mainstream media about the real dangers of 5G, or what it actually involves, or the way that the telecoms have kind of, done an end run around our democratic processes. Indeed, the New York Times ran a front page story attributing all of these scares about 5G to Russians, which is ridiculous because they're very thoroughly documented by serious organizations such as Environmental Health Trust in Washington. Even though there's been very little mainstream news coverage, the word is getting out that 5G is very, very bad for you. And indeed, 200 scientists from around the world wrote a letter to the United Nations documenting their concerns about confirmed health risks of 5G. So yes, it will make your phone download movies and YouTube videos faster, but you need to know that confirmed peer-reviewed studies, which is all I ever use as source material, also documents that it raises measurable precancerous conditions for those who live around the masts. It leads to a rise in reproductive system cancers, in cancers of the heart, in dementia, headaches, tinnitus, and interestingly, diabetes and heart diseases. So these are not my imagination. Environmental Health Trust has all the studies on their website, and we will again post their studies in our link on this video and on the blog in DailyClout. But these are not conjectural. Your DNA changes to a precancerous condition when you're around these cell towers. Also, I just want to say, I reported 6 months ago that 5G was rolled out in 10 cities in the United States. AT&T and Verizon have rolled it out. I live in New York. That's one of the cities in which 5G has launched. Also a smart meter. Smart meters have also launched in New York City buildings. There's one in my building, sadly. And I can tell you that everyone who lives in my apartment is very much more uncomfortable than they were. We can't identify if it's 5G, if it's the smart meter, what the source is, some other disruptor, but absolutely disruption in sleep, headaches, irritability, and many other people who are in these cities are reporting very similar symptoms. So I really want to quickly update. I found a website for the 5G broadband industry, and that's good. Those are good sources because that's what the industry uses to make its decisions. Something really scary was clear from this, which is that in 2017, there was this giant push in state after state after state for bills that passed overwhelmingly to claim on behalf of the telecoms public thoroughfares, right? So all those main streets and side streets where there are stoplights and streetlights, public roadways, they don't belong to you and your municipality anymore. These bills claimed them for the telecoms. They have jurisdiction over them now in state after state after state. And I'm going to read them to you very quickly. Arizona, I only got a quarter of the way through because it's all 50 states. Alaska, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, and Florida, Georgia, and Hawaii, all of them, and all 50. And they're all similar bills. So they don't just claim the thoroughfares in your state. I didn't see a single exception, but they also claim municipal poles. Like, this is why the firefighters union is fighting, because the telecoms claim the top of fire stations to put the small cell antenna masts. They're claiming stoplights. They're claiming, masts on top of schools, masts on top of post office, local government rooftops. The telecoms have claimed in these bills that have passed, often bipartisan bills. Who knows what happened to those legislators? They probably got paid off with a hefty consulting fee to telecoms after they left office. And not only that, but the telecoms embed in the bill the right to not even pay market rates for the leasing of this space, right? And not only that, but a lot of these bills preempt any right for local municipalities to legislate in opposition to this land grab of your streets and your thoroughfares, with under market rate leasing from the telecom. So it doesn't just say we're grabbing your streets and we're putting these dangerous masts on schools and fire stations and hospitals and post offices. It's also saying you have no legal right to charge us market rates for the rental, and you cannot pass laws limiting our right to put these everywhere. So it's quite terrifying. As serious as it is for me to see, 22 identical heartbeat bills, it's even more serious in a way, if you care about democracy, to see an end run in virtually 50 states in which private industry gets to silence all the people of all of those states, all that local government. And as you know, there's also a federal bill doing exactly this, which we read on DailyClout about 6 months ago. So just to give you some examples, Arizona, SB 1214 allows providers to have access to utility poles, and it caps the fees. It's signed into law. Alaska, same thing for the city of Juneau, and you better listen because your town might be here. Arkansas, HB 1926, gives the telecoms public right-of-way and caps fees. You hear the same thing in state after state. California, SB 649. In LA, 5G is already deployed throughout the city. And one of the few local mayors, Eric Garcetti, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, sorry, asked the FCC to wait to let locals develop their own permits. That is the only mayor, except for Massachusetts, that I've seen speak up to even say, hold on a minute. Nevada, the city has a moratorium, but it's for design, right? To hide them so that people can't say, wait a minute, that's a cell tower. I don't want that on my child's school, which they're starting to say. Colorado, HB 1193, gives telecoms access to public rights of way, caps fees. And Denver is limiting them for aesthetic reasons, not health reasons. Connecticut, SB 536, it failed. This is the only state I've seen so far in which it failed, and city government demanded that the community be able to take action regarding deployment. So one state that I've seen so far, Connecticut, has said, hold on a minute. Delaware passed, gave access to public right-of-way, same thing. Florida, HB 687, prohibits local government from stopping the co-location of 5G on utility poles. I'm going to say that again. Welcome to fascist America. In Florida, a bill that passed prohibits local government from stopping co-location of 5G on utility poles. It forbids the people of Florida from rising up and saying through their own elected government, we don't want this on our utility poles, meaning in residential areas, near schools, near old folks' homes. Georgia, SB 426 passed, limits the ability to prohibit or charge for use of public right-of-way. Again, in Georgia, you are not allowed to organize with your neighbors and say, hold on a minute, I don't want this on the utility pole outside my home, outside where my baby's sleeping. Hawaii, HB 2051, it's on utility poles, and it is utilizing as needed the public right-of-way. So listen to that. The telecoms have grabbed the public right-of-way. That means our roads and our utility poles in state after state after state passed these bills and not only said we're going to put 5G cell towers up, they cause all these health conditions. We're going to try to hide them in certain cases. We're going to make sure local government cannot stop you. And we are going to make sure that you can't even charge us market rates for putting them up there and, as many would say, harming the residents of those towns. An extraordinary land grab. So I'm here in the United Kingdom. I have to tell you, the minute I landed, I felt so much better. I mean, I just feel normal here. This feels like the way the world felt before 5G. And not only that, there's evidence from Holland that 5G is killing birds, disorienting them because it interferes with their directional capabilities, right? So they're flying into each other, they're flying into trees, into branches, but it also, there's data now, studies that show that it kills insects, and we're having headlines around the world saying insect apocalypse, right? Well, Environmental Health Trust will tell you that the studies have not been done by the governments to prove that it's safe, and independent scientists and doctors are documenting the lack of safety, the dangers to insects, to birds, and to human health. So I feel so much better. I immediately started relaxing, and then I read that 5G is coming to Britain in 6 weeks. Right now, there's no 5G deployed. Everyone feels great. Bird song is everywhere. You can hear, see insects among the roses, among the gardens. But indeed, in 6 weeks, British Telecom and Vodafone are rolling it out in 10 cities. So brace yourself, Britain, London, Edinburgh, Cardiff, Belfast, Birmingham, Manchester. That's the first rollout. Second rollout is going to be Glasgow, Newcastle, Liverpool, Leeds, Hull, Sheffield, Leicester, Bristol, Coventry, and Nottingham. So please, Britain, pay attention to how you feel right now, because unless you block the rollout of 5G, you are never going to feel this good again. And please cherish your insects and your birds, because if 5G is rolled out as planned in 6 weeks all over the country, and I looked at the websites of British Telecom, they don't say anything about the confirmed health risks, right? But if you don't take action, you're going to feel as bad as we do in the United States, and your insects and animals and birds will also suffer. So let's see. It's now been 33 minutes. Those of you who wanted the brief and the update, we're done. Thank you for joining us. Again, if you think this is valuable information, it takes a lot of research and resources to bring this to you and to embed in the video existing bills about 5G. I'm looking for bills to stop 5G as well as to promote it so everyone can take action on DailyClout. That's what we're here for. But again, our fixed costs are $1,240 a month without anyone getting a salary, right? That's hosting, that's data, and our webmaster. So please donate, subscribe, become members, go to the DailyClout.io website, make a donation. We've had people give $5 a month, $10 a month. We've had people generously give, it's all generous, $200, $300 in one-time donations. We're running a special for $75. You get a signed copy of Give Me Liberty or The End of America. I'll add my new book, What the Heck. You can have a hardcover of Outrages signed for you for a $75 donation. You can tell me who to sign it to, but please, we really need to scramble to get up to paying our hosting costs, paying our data costs. We need your help. We're all in this together. So no one else gives you not just the real information about what's in these bills, but a way to take action and lobby for yourselves. DailyClout does, so please become supporting, sustaining members. Click on that membership button. It's $3.99 a month. As one of our members said, very little to pay to protect democracy. So let's take some questions and comments now. Aileen, such a wonderful member of our community, says, I'd call it willful and intentional violation of their power. Wow, just wow. And I think she's speaking about the missing bills, because that's when her comment came. And Independent Outsider asks very sensibly, in your opinion, what are the best ways to reverse decision on abortion laws and 5G? So that's what we're here for. That's what DailyClout is for. So you're not just hearing the news, but you can write the legislation and pass it. And we can show you bills and you can mobilize around them. So go to Environmental Health Trust, the website, and we'll embed their link on this video as well. And they have state by state and city by city actions that you can take to stop 5G. But really the best thing you should do in addition to that is call your representative and say block 5G, and call your state representative. Very important, you know who that is. You have even more of a voice at the state level. And a lot of these laws got stealthily passed at the state level. So on DailyClout, you can find out who is your state representative, and you tweet him or her, and you say, I want to repeal the law that allowed there to be 5G. If you live in Connecticut or Los Angeles, I want you to, if you live in LA and you don't like 5G, go call Eric Garcetti, your mayor, and express appreciation to him for taking action for a moratorium, right? And if you live in Connecticut as well, let your state representative know that you appreciate that there is a moratorium. People are pressing pause, but politicians cannot withstand the might and the money of telecoms if you as constituents don't raise your voice. So go for it, Connecticut, go for it, California. You have, and finally Massachusetts. I haven't read those cities. I will in our next update, but Massachusetts as well is saying, hold on a minute. Malden especially, and also Sebastopol in California. So individual cities are saying, wait a minute, if you live in those cities, and you can find out which they are, both from us and from Environmental Health Trust, reach out to your city council, make your voice heard, tell your neighbors, all right, and share this video and the bill cam that we'll be putting in there, and the link to Environmental Health Trust. Independent Outsider says, oh, honestly, I didn't realize 5G had been rolled out in New York City. I'm on Long Island. Yeah, I mean, really ask yourself, this happened about 2 months ago. Ask yourself, New York, how do you feel? Just how do you feel? Are you irritable? Are you stressed? I mean, I literally can hear it in the voices of people in New York when I call from out of town. And it's not just daily New Yorkishness. Other cities where 5G has been rolled out, you can hear the change in how people feel. People feel awful. And again, it's not magic. Our brains are electrical, right? Thoughts depend on electrical impulses. You learned that in middle school biology. 5G is an electromagnetic wave that interrupts or interferes with normal impulses in the brain, in the body. AT&T is rolling out a millimeter wave version of 5G. What is millimeter wave technology? That thing you stand in at the airport in the US that sees through your clothes, that is millimeter wave technology. You are going to be living inside of that always. Always. All right. So whatever power it has to see through your clothes and see if you're carrying a weapon, imagine your baby, your child, your pets, your plants, your livestock if you're a farmer, and your own brain and body and vital organs exposed to that 24/7, thanks to AT&T. All right. Just think about the science. You don't have to be a scientist to understand the basics of how this technology works and why it's so dangerous. And as Theodora Scarrato can tell you of Environmental Health Trust, we assume the government in the US is watching and making sure nothing unsafe is deployed. There is no one watching the store, in her words. This technology has been rolled out and no one is checking. There's no one in the regulatory capacity to oversee the health effects and to make sure it's safe before it's been rolled out. Actually, there was a change in the law in the Clinton years to make sure there wouldn't be such a person, according to Environmental Health Trust. So it is not proven to be safe. Independent Outsider said that opposition blocking happened in November, I believe. I'm not sure what that refers to. I'm sorry. So Jennifer Jensen, a wonderful supporter of ours, says the government is corrupt and in on this 5G deployment. Absolutely. The money is rolling into the pockets of both sides. So don't be distracted by the theatricals of the news. It's all about both sides cashing in the chits from major corporations like telecoms. And that's really bad. Not that I didn't already know this, but this makes it really obvious our politicians are in deep capture. Well put, Jennifer. And I just love the contributions that you and Eileen and other members of the community make to the conversation. Thank you so much for your support. And my team thanks you as well. Every time I tell my team we've had, 20% more members, 30% more members, they get energized and they're working for free and I want to pay them. So thank you for your support. Independent Outsider says, absolutely, the 5G being rammed through is definitely a violation of public choice. By the way, guess who isn't having 5G rolled out? Brussels. The mayor of Brussels refused, and she said, Brussels, Belgium, and she said, I'm not going to let the people of Brussels be experimented on like guinea pigs. Who lives in Brussels, ladies and gentlemen? That's right, the lobbyists and the parliamentarians of the European Union. That's who lives in Brussels. They don't want to be experimented on. They don't want the health effects, which they know perfectly well if they're plugged in at all. And I also am not aware that Washington, D.C. is on the list of American cities that have had 5G roll out. My dogs, that's really interesting. Eileen says, my dog should be inundated with fleas by now because it's springtime, yet both dogs don't have one. Every year for the past 15 years, they got major flea problem. Now not one. Also no ants, none. It takes courage to start noticing what's happening on our planet and to say so. And I really encourage citizens to make these everyday observations and report them. This is the scariest thing, Eileen, and you're right to notice things like that. I mean, I remember when you could just dig in the dirt and see earthworms and centipedes and potato bugs, all gone. And, if you're noticing that there are no fleas, I'm noticing that there are no ticks, and I live in tick country. A lot of people have noticed there's no mosquitoes on their windshields anymore. And in the American South, there used to be clouds of mosquitoes. I'm noticing that telephone poles don't have birds on them anymore. They used to be rife with birds. 5G is confirmed to kill insects and birds. I can't say this enough. Confirmed to kill insects and birds. And we're hearing insect apocalypse, birds dropping out of the sky. We'll keep reporting on it. Please keep sending solid peer-reviewed links. But Eileen, that's not it's not happy news. It's very bad news that even though we don't like fleas personally, every little insect has a role in our ecosystem. And if we're seeing the wiping out of insects and birds in the United States, and 5G is new, serious people need to start asking seriously, is 5G hurting insects and birds? And I'm going to say to you, Britain, I walked around Hampstead and I was so full of joy. The earth is so beautiful here. And what I was hearing, which I no longer hear in America, is bird song. What I was seeing was natural cloud, right? And what I was smelling was the smell of the earth. The combination probably of 5G and the geoengineering I've also been reporting on means that you don't hear bird song anymore. You don't see natural cloud and you don't smell the earth in most cities in the United States. I'm not a scientist. I can't point for sure at what gigantic change in our environment may be causing that, or if it's something I haven't identified, but it stands to reason, given the threats to our health that I've documented with peer-reviewed news and journalism, that geoengineering has been deployed in the United States, not yet in Britain nearly as intensely, and that 5G has been deployed in the United States, not yet in Britain. And I'm seeing, and those of you who travel back and forth notice, right? And you who live in Britain notice what's going to happen before and after the rollout. There is a measurable difference. You don't hear birds anymore in America. You barely hear them. You barely see insects. You barely see natural cloud. And we've got this gigantic new place on the electromagnetic bandwidth irradiating us all day and night in city after city. So I'm sorry to be the voice of alarm. It's 45 minutes. We have to wrap it up, and we have to close it down actually. But better that we know, and better that we rise up and legislate to protect our health, our children's health, our animals' health, and our environment. This is Naomi Wolf for DailyClout. We're going to give you the tools to mobilize. I'm going to reach out to Environmental Health Trust this week and formalize what you can do and do regular updates. You can help by subsidizing us, becoming members. It really helps because it's very, very cost intensive to keep DailyClout up and running, research flowing, journalism flowing, data flowing, and hosting of BillCam. And share, spread the word, give gifts of memberships, give gifts of books that I will sign for you personally for donations. Let's talk again this time next week. And this is Naomi Wolf. Again, I'm in London for the rollout of my book, Outrageous, and I'm going to be rolling it out in America soon in June. And I thank you for being part of our community, and I'm grateful to you. So please join me and please join this community. Naomi Wolf for DailyClout.